Ranger fans and Ranger faithful to the 9th episode of the Ranger Football Report. My name's Noah Casa.
I'm Joel Geist.
And we had a fantastic game on Friday. Coon Rapids coming to play your Forest Lake Rangers, and it ended the way that we wanted it to. Big win for your Forest Lake Rangers, 57-7 over Coon Rapids, and we're on to round 2 against Edina tomorrow night here at Ranger Stadium.
Absolutely. We had a great week last week as far as the weather goes.
Oh, fantastic.
It got up on top of the crow's nest. It was a little chilly. And we thank all of you for tuning in to just our straight audio cast.
Yeah.
There was a lot of you listening to us.
That was a record for an audio cast.
Yeah, just for straight audio. Thanks a lot. We appreciate all that.
2,000 people tuning in. It was
2,000 people listen to the
I kind of like
audio.
it once in a while. It's a nice little change. It challenges us as announcers to have to try to paint the picture for the viewers.
Right. And so first of all, let's get right down to it. Big milestone that happened.
Huge milestone.
Howie Johnson got the Minnesota state record for tackles for loss
and sacks
in a career.
Yeah. It's been a long time since we were setting state records like that.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great job, and it was a great moment.
Yeah.
Brad called a timeout once they knew that they had it. Brad called a timeout. Howie came over. They had a big hug, and I'm sure they said
Howie just started dancing like a fool at the 50.
Yeah, and so it was great. And, that's probably a great moment for Brad, too. He's been here as long as Howie has been playing on varsity. Like, Howie didn't start, like, the first 1 or 2 games in varsity, but he was, like, coming on. And, I mean, I remember right away just being blown away by...
Well, I remember getting excited to see Gunner, Howie's older brother, play, because I've known Gunner for a while, and I was excited. And then he ended up having a injury, unfortunately, in like week 1 or 2.
That was his second year, wasn't it? That was sophomore year, I think. It wasn't freshman year.
Okay, well, I have to go back and relook at it.
But freshman year, I was just absolutely blown away by Howie's speed and size for being a freshman. I've seen a couple of guys in high school that have done really well later on in college, and a couple of them that I've seen go to the NFL. And Howie, right away from that spot, I mean, you see flashes of that right away, and you can see flashes every time, and you're just like, well, if he continues to get better. And last year his numbers kind of dropped a little bit just because he was being asked to do a whole bunch of other stuff, drop back into coverage.
He was also being triple teamed.
Yes, and I believe somebody had told me that his rate of being touched or being like basically being chipped by multiple people, he was touched by 2 or more people like 70% of the time.
Yeah.
Which is just insane that your whole game plan is to try and stop this person. And, a couple of people have tried that. And lately, this year especially, that didn't work because like if you shut Howie Johnson down, hey, guess what? Now you have Nate Schleif, who was doing, Nate Schleif started since, as a sophomore, and you got Cullen Christensen, who really came on that, as of late.
Yeah.
Early in the season, we weren't sure what our linebacking crew was going to look like, and now, I mean, our linebacking crew is as solid as our defensive line, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's a situation where, teams aren't running against us. We're at like 56 yards. 56
yard. Our rate of, let's see here. Where'd it go?
I think it's like 56 yards.
56.6, I believe, is the rushing rate.
And that's because you can't get around either edge. You have
56,
you have the linebacker that is the linebacker that's filling the gap on the other side. And so you have Nate Schleif and the linebacker that crashes down if they try and avoid Howie. And if they run at Howie, well, Howie can usually get through a double team or two.
Well, it's either like Schleif and Cullen on one side,
right,
or you have Durago and Howie on the other side.
I mean, it's a tough choice to pick your poison there. And so that was a big part of the Coon Rapids game. You know, we had
well, and also
we had the safety right away.
Well, real quick, to the point of Howie's record breaker, what a play for it to happen on. Not just like a big scrum in the middle that Howie came out as the main guy to make the tackle, but it was like a 12-yard sack.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. It was just a perfect moment for that to happen at. Howie's sitting with 23 tackles for a loss on the season and 6 sacks, leading the team. Cullen not far behind him at 17 tackles for a loss. I believe I have to relook again statistic-wise for individual statistics, but I believe that they're still close to, if not the top 2 in 6A defensively for the same thing. But you were going into something else there as far as the Coon Rapids game while I pull this up.
I mean, just the defense took control right away.
Yes.
Instantly we had a safety, and that was, you know, basically you had a safety and then they had to free kick it to us and we went down and scored right away. So it's
first play.
Yeah.
Mac to the house.
It was instantly, and that's, you know, one of these things where, hey, guess what? Defense makes a big play. Guess what? 1 or 2 plays later, it's a touchdown from the offense, because this team is definitely a big play offense. And, you know, they continue to basically work in tandem. If the offense makes a big play, usually that's when the defense ratchets it up right after, and it's a 3 and out, and, you know, the offense is back on the field immediately.
Well, and we've been talking for weeks about, I just want to speak about Mac for a second here in this last game. We've been talking for weeks about how we look at the stats and he has a sneaky 120-yard game, 130-yard game. He had allowed 194 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns this past
and 1
week.
taken away.
I don't remember that, honestly.
It was 1 taken away. There was 1 that was called.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm seeing on the stats here, it says that he had a fumble. I don't remember.
No, it wasn't the fumble. There was a penalty that was called back. Yeah, so it was like a 60-yard run that got called back.
Yeah, you should have been closer to.
So it should have been in the 250 mark. But
we got back to vintage sophomore season Mac Djokovic.
Right. And as you, like, we alluded to it in the broadcast that last night or last week, because Mac is he's came back from his ankle injury, and he's been wearing a lot of tape.
Yeah.
And I think that cut down a lot of his agility, but the way
there's also an aspect of you got to relearn how to trust that ankle a little bit and plant.
But
and
I mean,
it
looked like, you alluded to it, and I completely agreed with you that it looked like this was his first week back, that he really trusted it and he felt 100%, because it didn't look like he had much tape on his ankle, and it looked like he was
both bright pink cleats on
right. So I think it was one of those things where he finally was able to just open it up a little bit. And then, you know, Durago also had 100 yards rushing on 11 carries. So, I mean,
and he had 4 touchdowns.
Right. And, you know, it's just a 2-headed monster. And there should have been a 2-point conversion in there, because
that one I still can't believe.
That I'm pretty sure he was in. And then they just piled on and pushed him back. But the goal line is the goal line. Once you cross it, you don't come back out.
Connor passing didn't throw hardly at all, but 2 for 3 and a touchdown. It's another one that Rayfield was almost had. Yeah, but he would have been down to 1 again.
Right. When he went for that pass, I was like, nah. oh my God, he's going to be down at the one again. And then the defender made a great play and just knocked it out. So, I mean, it was a solid chance. And the defender made a good play.
Yeah.
Rayfield was there and trying to make a solid catch, but it would have fallen just short again for him.
I think that would have been number 3 this year.
Yes, it would have been number 3. Number 3 at the one.
Oh, man's been cheated out of some tutties.
Right. And, once again, Connor, like in these games that, you're looking at, being up by 30 points in the running clock, you're really not going to be throwing it a whole lot. And,
from snap 1 and snap 2, I mean, the second run we ran went to the house.
Right. I mean, they were down 15-0 instantly.
Yeah, it was pretty clear early on that one, we weren't going to be throwing a whole lot because the running attack was working.
Yeah.
And then it became evident that we're probably just going to want to run the ball and get out of here healthy.
Right. And we also had quite a few guys come in. We saw the second fleet of the Forest Lake Freightliners come in, the second offensive line for, a good part of that game. And they did really well. And, we got to see some seniors that, maybe didn't have that much of time just because our offensive line is solid. And to break into that offensive line, it's tough. Unless somebody gets injured, you're not going to replace your left tackle that is, doing an amazing job. You're not going to take out your right guard that's pulling all the time. That's allowing you to get all of these yards. So it allowed a lot of our other guys that, are underclassmen to come in, get a chance under the big lights. Also in the playoffs, also, keep them interested, keep them going. Because, it may come a time you're always one play away. And, a lot of those guys look like they were, ready to come in and be the next man up, which, we've had quite a few times. Evan Richley came in for Mac. And,
had some tough running.
He proved...
on just 4 carries, he showed how physical of a runner he has turned into from week 2, when he was starting, to where we're at now. And then Sam Lutz got in 3 carries, 22 yards, and a touchdown. He was showing some speed out there.
I mean, his sweeps were looking really good.
Oh, yeah.
And, because I think Lutz is kind of listed as a tight end / running back.
Same sort of position as Westman.
Yeah. I think he's a little bigger than that. He's almost like cross between a Durago.
Oh, size-wise, but I think he plays the same, same like receiver sweeper that Westman plays.
But Sam Lutz is somebody really looking forward to seeing next year a lot. There's going to be a lot of room next year for a lot of these younger players to come up.
Yeah.
And looks like we got a special guest coming on in. So sorry for the quick interruption here. We were kind of going through Coon Rapids. We were waiting on our special guest that we had, Brad Beeskow, the head coach for Forest Lake, was on his way, and we weren't quite sure when he was going to show up. So that's kind of what we have for Coon Rapids, and a big thanks to Brad for stopping on in and coming in and seeing the interview that you're going to watch in
shortly.
Shortly.
We'll go through some scores and recap the last of the week throughout the bracket, and then we'll cut to that interview, and we'll be right back to kind of sign off at the end of it.
Yeah.
All right. So where are we at the bracket? Be easier if my mouth worked there. All right. So we obviously did a number on Coon Rapids, 57-7. We both look pretty dumb this week. Minnetonka absolutely taking it to Anoka.
Yeah, I mean,
34-16.
I'm going to preface that with I said if there was.
Yes, correct.
If there was.
Did we truly think Minnetonka was going to get upset by Anoka? Probably not.
Probably not.
If there was going to be one,
it was going to be Anoka.
Centennial took care of business over Hopkins, 48-12. Eden Prairie all over Lakeville North, 50-7. Maple Grove over Eastview, 56-7. No surprise there. Mounds View took down Rogers 31-21. Rosemount over Park Cottage Grove 56-14. Shakopee beats Stillwater 26-14. Champlain Park over Roseville 28-0. Moorhead over Blaine 38-21. Woodbury over Egan in a closer game 21-20. STMA over Osseo 43-21. Prior Lake beats White Bear 49-22. Lakeville South over Wayzata 35-12. Edina over Farmington 30-17. And East Ridge beats Andover 28-20 after getting Tomes back. So the way that the bracket shakes out is we are playing Edina this week because they beat Farmington last week, and we will be playing the winner of Eden Prairie and Champlain Park.
And Champlain Park has played a lot of people tough. Eden Prairie, solid team. It's you can't look past anybody. Edina has definitely played some tough opponents in the West out there. Those guys are definitely going to be ready. They got some playmakers for sure. Mason West is playing for the Blackhawks.
Yeah, you got drafted by the Blackhawks.
By the Blackhawks, so clearly an athlete.
Yeah, absolutely.
Clearly an athlete.
Well, and he could have left and gone and done hockey right away.
Right.
But he chose to stay here for his senior year. He wants to make this a big year. Right. So he's got that motivation coming into it just by himself. So the Rangers are definitely going to have to compete with that.
Yeah, and they got a solid running back. Got
well
some,
over 1,000 yards this year. Is it 1,600?
Bjorgard, I think it was Bjorg.
Yeah. 1,169 rushing yards, 15 touchdowns, averaging 5 yards a carry.
Yeah, so definitely no slouch. That is for sure. So.
What do you think your keys to the game for Edina will be? I can start out.
I'm gonna say that the keys to the game are gonna be the boundary guys coming up and making stops on the edge. That's like our edge contain is going to be the biggest thing for this defense on a team that can really run well. They have a solid quarterback, so you're always going to have to watch to make sure, like, he's clearly an athlete. If he's a hockey player, that means he can definitely move. He is going to be, he could be one of those guys that are scrambling out to the edge, and then he just kind of glides around guys, and that's kind of what I would figure a hockey player is kind of designed to do. He's going to come around, and those guys on the edge are going to have a huge test if it's run or pass, and if you're going to have to commit to making the tackle or not.
Yeah, no, he definitely, by his stats, looks like he's guy that can scramble. Looks like he scrambles he clearly scrambles to throw, and he throws well based on his stats. He's run the ball 46 times for 110 yards. He's averaging 2.5 yards per carry, and he's only rushed for 3 touchdowns. But on the flip side, he's completed 140 passes for 1,800 yards and 20 touchdowns. Yeah. So he's clearly avoiding pressure, looking downfield still, which is a great thing for a quarterback. Better for our defense that we can cover the pass a bit more than necessarily have to worry about him. But at the same time, I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to be shy about pulling down and running when he's got green in front of him.
Right. I mean, he's definitely an athlete, and a very competitive player, and those guys just do what they have to when the moment arises. Yeah. And, you have to be 100% ready for that to happen because, our defense, I'm going to say Connor Johnson is the most important person as far as going deep in the playoffs, but our defense is the most important aspect of our game that can really make it easy for the rest of our team. If you can hit 3 and outs, and we talk about the big plays, and hey, they might get 3 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards, or 5 yards, 5 yards, but then it's minus 15 on a tackle for a loss, or minus 12, minus 10 on a sack. So it's something that if our defensive line and linebackers can get home and maybe sack him a couple of times, that is definitely going to make this game. It's going to change the course of the game. And we talked about this all the time, is the big plays kind of beget big plays. So if you hit a big play on defense, or if you make a great stop or a special teams turnover, the offense gets the ball back and immediately will try and make a big score. And I mean, it sounds really cliche to say whoever has the most big plays will win the game, but whoever has the big plays early has a huge leg up on winning this game.
Yeah. No, I think a huge thing for me, I'm just going to continue saying what I said last week. I think the pass defense is going to be a huge one, especially against Mason, because he obviously knows how to throw the ball and he does it effectively. We have a quarterback that does the same thing, just not to the extent that Mason has, just based off of the number of attempts he's gotten this year.
Right.
But I think our secondary, learning from where we went wrong against Mounds View, stepping up and really locking down that pass coverage this year, or this next week, is going to be huge. And we've seen that throughout the year. Our pass defense has been good, but then every once in a while we have a game that it kind of just seems like it's off a little bit.
Well, and the Mounds View game, he had a lot of time. That was a very mobile.
We were getting a good rush. Yeah,
we were getting a good rush, but he was evading the rush, and that's one thing where
he was throwing early as well.
Yeah.
It was 2 steps and fire that thing.
And, there was a lot of them that were errant because they were so quick. So it was like kind of 50-50 right away when he would throw it really quick. But, there was also a lot of them that, he had pressure in his face. And, if all of our guys get their hands up and, put a lot of pressure on him, that's what this defense does. It puts pressure on people to make mistakes. And I mean, he's a great player, but nobody is immune to making mistakes.
Couldn't agree more. I think that's all I got for Edina. Do you have any more closing thoughts on Edina?
I have nothing else.
Well, with that, please welcome our special guest this week, as Joel said earlier, head coach of your Forest Lake Rangers, Brad Beeskow. Alrighty, so today we got a special interview here with Coach Brad Beeskow, and hopefully next year we can make it more of a regular thing, and maybe see, as long as the season goes, we can have you in more regularly this year. But unfortunately, it's kind of slipped our minds a little bit this year, which is dumb. But we got some questions for you we want to ask, and we can get your opinions on the Coon Rapids game and the upcoming game against Deacon.
Awesome. I love it. Let's do it.
I'm going to start. I'm going to throw you one that didn't get on the audio broadcast that was on last week. Clearly, big milestone last week for one of your players, Howie Johnson, one of the leaders of the team. What's it been like that since you've been here? He's been there right next to you. And what was that like on the field? I mean, it was a great moment. It was a great moment to watch because you could just see the emotion and everybody was happy. Everybody knew exactly what was happening. So how has it been over the last, 4 years of being here that you've had a player like that just in your pocket, ready to work?
Yeah, it's been a blessing, right? He's obviously an incredible kid, incredible person. everybody loves Howie, and that's not just because he's good at football. It's because of the person that Howie is and the worker that he is. Like you said, when I got here and he's in 8th grade, going to be 9th, you don't know exactly what's going to happen. Now, 9th graders usually don't play varsity football. Sophomores don't usually play varsity football. And so as you're building and growing things, we had to give him his opportunity, and he just took it and ran with it. He watches the most film. He lifts the most weights. He cares the most about his technique. He obviously loves the game and he loves his teammates. He'll do anything with us, culture building. He'll do anything with us in the community. So to have a guy like that to be with us for these 4 years is really, really special. It's been so fun to see him grow, not only as a human being, right, his physical stature, but just his mindset and everything that he's had to do through school and through the community, and getting to play with his brother early on, and then, finishing with his friends and all that stuff too. So it's been really fun to see his growth and just the person that he is. And like when you come in, you want to build a culture. That's the first thing that you have to do. Like the winning football games is kind of second to establishing who you want to be, what type of people and culture you want to be. And so for us to come in and just build this work culture that we've always been about, with him to be the forefront of that for 4 years, right? Starting as a 9th grader and buying in and believing it, to now leaving this place way better than he found it, I think is super, super special, and I'm really grateful for it.
And just a follow up here. So do you feel that just because he has been on the team since freshman year, he's really, because we have a lot of young players on the team right now, and like Mac Djokovic is a young player. Yeah. And he's played a couple of times, and I was like, that he's really big for a freshman. Asher Wilson, and not saying that there's a comparison at all, but if there was one person to tell somebody that is of that stature to, hey, you know what, if this is what you want, and you want to be able to work at being on the team and being a leader, this is what you need to do all the time. And it sounds like from his work ethic, and at halftime when he came out, he took the whole defensive line and was basically showing them tape and going over what they needed to do. Mm-hmm. And I just think that should be invaluable. And I just want to know if you think that makes it much easier for the young kids because they know that he's done it, and like, hey, or is it more like they feel like it's harder to do just because you're behind this guy that's so good? Yeah,
no, it's a great question. I think that I'd be lying to you if I said it's not part of the reason that we do bring young kids up. It's because we have tremendous leaders who can show them what it's like to be a varsity football player, what it's like to be a Forest Lake Ranger. Obviously, Howie being at the forefront of that. But you look at our other leaders like Connor Johnson, Kevin Durago, Jacob Rayfield, Nate Schleif. The list goes on and on. DJ Westman. There's tons of them, right? And those are all the seniors. Well, then we have junior leaders too, right? Like the Max, like you mentioned, Micah, DeFore, Brooksy, Kenise. Like there's so many guys now that have played varsity football even as a young pup and have grown up kind of before our eyes, to be able to see those, older varsity guys who have been through it and know exactly what it takes for us to be successful, to build the culture with it. That's the reason that we have these young guys come through. It's really important for them to get good reps on the field. So that's why sometimes they play freshman or sophomore football or JV, but it's even more important that they learn what the Forest Lake football is about and commit to exactly commit to the grind, right? Commit to what it's going to take in the off season and what kind of it looks like in the film room and all that, weight room and all that good stuff too. So it's fun to see these guys. We do it every year where we have, some that come up during the regular season and just make our, upper level team, our JVR varsity team. And the thing that I think is really, really cool that we do is once the 9th and the 10th grade seasons end, the players that we think, should get pulled up, we pull them up too off of those teams. And so then they get to see like, okay, I just played my lower level seasons and had good seasons, our 9th and 10th grades. Now I get to see what it's like on the varsity level before I'm hopefully going to play it, next year or even later this year. So it's the fun part to be able to be with guys like Howie and the rest of those leaders. And you just don't ever take them for granted because they don't come around that often.
I got a quick question while we're on Howie quick. Just when you have a player like that, people talk about their welcome to the NFL moment. as a coach, what was your defining moment as far as like that sticks out as Howie of this kid's way different than most
for
players?
sure.
Do you have a specific one?
Yeah, I have multiple, and they've been each year because each year he's been a different player, right, on the field, and he's made different plays. I think obviously the first one would be his first ever practice. Because we saw him in the off season when we first got here. I got hired in February, I think it was. We saw him in the weight room and we're like, who is that? Like, he's a good looking kid. Well, he's an 8th grader. And you're like, okay. So then you're thinking about, well, what do we do with him? We made the decision that, and talked to him about this, and we're very candid. We said, we're going to pull you up and you're going to practice with the varsity team, that first day, our first ever practice. If they go well throughout the whole summer, we'll give you the summer to feel. If we feel like you're a varsity football player, you'll stay up. If you're not, you'll go back to 9th grade and you'll play with your team, right? You'll play with your 9th grade teammates. And the first practice, he's, burying people and not getting moved and making plays. And you're like, okay, well, he can play. So he's going to stay up with us. And then, during that year, he's, starting and then rotating in with guys and never playing a snap of scout team. He's always on the varsity team and he's making plays as a freshman. You're like, dang, this kid's going to be really good, but he's not completely filled out yet. Right? He's a freshman. Right. And then his sophomore year, when he has 29 tackles for loss or whatever it is. And if you remember, he had the big punt block versus Mounds View that his brother almost housed. He had 10 tackles for loss in one game against Mounds View. Like, you're like, this dude is the real deal. And then his junior year, when he's just going crazy, making everybody look bad out there. And then his senior year, he's taking it to a whole new level. And in my opinion, his senior year has been his best year. It might not be statistically, but the fact that people know who he is and he's committed, to the Gophers and where he's going, and everybody's game plans are around him, and he's beating these double teams and he's getting to the ball, and he makes so many plays. Because people say, well, how do you beat him, right? Do you go right at him? Well, if you go right at him, that's pretty tough, right? Because he gets off blocks. But if you go away from him, he's so good at tracking things down from the backside and bending down the line and doing those things that he has to do that. That's why, to me, the senior year is almost more, impressive than the rest of them. They've all been impressive in their own right, but the senior year, knowing that he has all of those eyes on him, has been really, really impressive.
Has that been a coaching thing? Like, Cullen Christensen has been amazing on the backside, and he's always kind of been on the backside of Howie. So you have Schleif and Cullen Christensen on the other side, and Schleif's been doing a great job just basically eating up bodies, and then that leaves Cullen Christensen open. We've seen that he basically comes in, breaks it down, it's been one of the most unselfish linebacker plays that I've seen, because he doesn't just go straight for the tackle. He makes the runner stop. He knows that either Howie's coming from the backside, or you have Tomacone's come in there and flown in and making a couple of tackles just when he's had him just straight up. Like, he doesn't get those tackles for a loss. But has that been kind of a game plan for you, that, hey, these guys are going to try and run away from Howie. We just need somebody over here just to stop the motion so everybody else can come in?
Yeah, and every single week, our defensive coaches do an unbelievable job putting together a game plan to that reason, right? It fits exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to play the game our way. We're trying to control things, right? We're trying to make sure that we play on our terms and our style. And sometimes that means, Howie and Cully on the opposite side. Sometimes it means they're right together and here we come. It just depends on the specific week and what it looks for. Adam Burton, our defensive coordinator, has done just an amazing job in 4 years. Like, we have the number one ranked defense in 6A football right now. And it's because of, obviously, we have great players, right? But putting them in the right positions schematically each and every week, the film study that it takes to study offenses. Like, I'm an offensive guy, obviously, right? Coaching defense is hard. Playing defense is hard because we know what we're doing. We know where we're going. We're trying to dictate things. So the way that our defense dictates the way that offenses have to play, I think, is so special. And you kind of mentioned it, like, our unselfish play on this football team and in, the Ranger football program, I think, is the reason that we're seeing success. And it's because it's not just one person who takes us everywhere. Obviously, Howie's great, but look how many other guys on defense we have that get to the ball and make plays. You look at the offense, Mac is great, but look how many other guys we have that get the ball and can make plays. And when you can do that and you don't care who's getting the ball every time or who's making the tackle every time or who gets the spotlight, that's where you have a true team that can move forward and make damage.
Yeah, the crazy thing that we keep talking about is the fact that, we talk about Cullen playing so unselfish, but statistically here, Howie and Cullen are 1 and 2 in 6A for tackles for loss.
Yeah, they're great players, man. And they're just so physical, and it comes from their study, right? Studying the game, knowing what's coming at them. And that just comes from their physicality. It starts with the weight room. It starts with what they did to their bodies to be these big, strong, ox looking men that can run. And that's the big thing. You have to be able to move, and you have to be able to bend down the line, like you said, on the backside and do those things. So to see those guys, I'm not surprised at all to see it, because I see it every single day in the off season, and I see the work that they put in. So yeah, the stats part of it is really fun too.
Yeah.
Great season so far. This has been a big play team, and it's kind of been your hallmark. You've kind of been that like houser, like there's always been a house call just right around the corner for you in the last 3-4 years you've been here. There's always been just a guy that's been able to do it. Mm-hmm. But so we've seen that the defense makes a huge play. Like we had the safety last week. Yep. Makes a huge play. All of a sudden, boom, house call. The next thing is that something that you kind of maybe play call around as like, hey, we really got the momentum. This is really going to be a backbreaker, or is it more of the team just feeds off of it itself, or is it a little of both?
Both. It's absolutely both, which is a good thing, right? We're trying to play the game, like I said, on our terms and control it and do things our way. And that's what field position does to you, right? So if we're going to be playing with our defense, which is a great defense, and they're holding teams to their side of the 50, well, we're feeling like we're in a good spot and we're kind of on top of them. On the vice versa of that, if we use our special teams and Jaden kicks it out of the end zone every single time, well, they're on the 20 and they have to go 80 yards and that kind of thing. We pride ourselves really on three main things when we talk about, like, obviously we have our work culture, right? But when it comes to winning football games, we talk about playing complementary football, which is always playing together. Our offense does things for our defense does things for our offense, and we both do things for our special teams. So if you do those three together, you're typically downhill at the other team. We talk all the time about hidden yardage, which is a little bit of what you're talking about right now, right? Of big plays, of when our defense stops somebody at the 0, right? For a 0-yard gain, we get enough hats to make it a -2. When we get a guy stuffed like Kevin, right? If he gets stuffed at the yard line right away, he's going to push forward and get 3 or 4. Same with Mac, same with Connor. That hidden yardage piece of getting a bunch of hats to the ball, it adds up over the course of a game. So like one play, it might be 2 yards, but when you do that times 50 plays, that's 100 yards during a game. So we talk about that a lot. And then, of course, we talk about turnovers. And so the turnover piece has been a huge aspect for this year. We're not turning the ball over a lot. We're getting turnovers on our defense. So for that piece to kind of go together offensively, like we're looking to get 3 yards every single play. That's the goal. And we want to be able to control the football and get 3 and get 3 and get 3. But like you say, a lot of times people say you're a really, really good coach, or you called a really, really good play. Well, I handed off a dive play to a really good player and he just broke a bunch of yards. I think the best part of coaching these guys is we have a bunch of guys who can do things differently, right? Mac is insanely fast. Kevin is insanely strong. Mike has great hands. DJ's really quick. Connor's the point guard of it all. Rayfeld catches the ball downfield and blocks like crazy. There's so many different pieces to where, yes, like you look at Coon Rapids, we made a really, really good play on defense to get it down there. We made a great play on special teams to get a safety. And then the very next play, we just ran a simple run play that we've ran every day since June, and Mac housed it. It looks great because we get these explosive plays, but it's because of their constant work and ability to do it together.
Well, and you talk about the hidden yardage thing, and a huge play that happened right before that was Brooks in the return game. I haven't looked at it recently, but midway through the year, he was leading 6A in return yards. Mm-hmm. So you got an absolute spark plug there, which has been fun to watch this year.
I have a bit of a question there.
Yeah.
About mid-season, there was one punt that he caught. You were right on the sideline, and he fair caught it. And I don't think he's fair caught a punt since that game.
Yep. And we just know that Brooks is such a talented player. He's got unbelievable hands and unbelievable instincts and quickness about him and speed that, if you have that space in a high school football game, particularly, like they get loud for sure, but it's not the NFL. There's not 60,000 people there. So you can typically hear us from the sideline. So if we're telling you you've got room, you got to trust us a little bit. So I specifically remember the one you're talking about. I had nobody anywhere near him and he fair caught it. And again, it goes two ways because we want him to fair catch things if he needs to, because if that ball hits the ground, we lose a ton of field position, and he's been amazing at it.
Yeah, and fielding a punt is hard.
100%.
Like, it gets up in the wind, you never know.
Yes.
Like, it's hard, and it's not an easy thing to do.
Yes, but we just know that, once he gets that thing in his hands, he's going to be able to get us 5, 10, 15, however many yards, 20. And so with being able to do that, that just, again, flips fields like that. And all of a sudden we're winning the field position game and we're staying on top of teams. And that's the thing that like people don't see in the stat columns, right? A lot of times you're like, oh, well, maybe they haven't ran for as many yards or passed for as many yards or done this. But if you're getting the ball consistently on the 50, you're not going to get as many yards as if you get it on the 20. And that's a good thing, So those kind of things all go together. That's why we do everything together.
Well, that leads right into this one here. We haven't passed a whole lot as much as other teams, obviously.
Yep.
But when we have, Connor's been very effective this year. As the games get closer throughout the playoffs, do you think Connor's efficiency and skills at quarterback is going to allow you to open up the passing game a little bit more if needed?
Yep. Yeah, the fun part is, like you said, we haven't done it a ton. Like, we're not out there throwing it 30 times a game. We're doing it efficiently. And we have everything in our playbook that we need, of course. We've seen it in practice. We've seen it in scrimmages. We've seen it in games at times. And so, he has every throw in his bag. He has it all there. It's just, when do we specifically need it? We look at it like a tool belt, right? You have all these tools and you use them as you need them. And I mean, he's been, if you look at it, again, we talked about statistics a little bit, he's the 5th most efficient passer in 6A football. And it's because of, we do it at the right times, right? We do it together. He makes the throw when they're there. He can make any of these throws. Like, you're looking at times where you're like, okay, well, we are going to take a shot down to Micah or to JR or Rayfeld or whatever it is. And he's making these throws. And then you look at games where like we didn't even have to throw it at all, and those kind of things. And it just kind of goes with, that's the unselfish piece you're talking about. Connor doesn't care at all if he throws the ball 0 times in the game or 30. Right? Or if he runs it 5 or 15, he doesn't care. He just wants to win, and he wants to be the reason that we're winning. And I would argue to everybody that he is one of the reasons that we're winning, and that's because of his ability to steer the ship. When you have all these weapons, right, it's your ability to get it to the right spot and to call the right plays and all the little things that matter. So it's been really fun. But to answer your question, yes, he can throw whenever we need to.
Sounds good. How frustrated at all has Connor and Rayfield been this year on the fact that they both should have about 3 more touchdowns, and Rayfield's been pulled down at like the 1 yard line? And it almost happened again last week.
100%. No, they're such good buddies, and they all are, that we all just laugh because typically if it gets to the 1 yard line, we know who's probably getting the touchdown. And it's not one of those two. But no, they're so great because they truly don't care about who scores. They just want to score. And again, we joke around because we have a good, fun relationship in nature where we can be joking and those kind of things. But yeah, JR definitely needs to get that 1 little yard because he'd be probably leading our team in touchdowns. They're pretty close if he could just get in the end zone from the 1.
Yeah. So you had alluded to this earlier on like just finding the right spots for people when you're talking about coaches and things like that. I've seen a number of other programs, and they'll just like hand it to one person. And, we've had in the past where, there's been a workhorse back. But the depth of this team, because everybody is kind of in their right spot. And, we talked about the unselfishness and all that. Like, you have to be unselfish to be, hey, I am just, a lane clogger right now. That's my job. And, I might not get anything in the stat line when we say a host of other Rangers, on the tackle. But I really think that, this coaching staff, you in particular, since you've got here, have found great ways to find uses for players. And the second game, the game against Anoka, it was kind of a hey, we really got to find it, and we got to trust what we put out there. And I really think that it opened up the offense a little bit more. And I don't know if I just kind of want to hear your thoughts about having, like, Mac went down And, hey, we got to figure stuff out.
Yep.
He might have been a big part of that. And then Durago really stepped up. You had Richley also come in. So I just wanted you to talk a little bit about that and how it's helped you through the season, maybe.
Yep. Well, we're lucky that we have really good kids and we have enough of them, right? I've been around programs. People have been around programs where you just don't have that type of depth and talent, like you say. We have multiple grade levels now where there's a ton of really good players that could be starting on varsity teams around the state, and they're here and we're deep enough that they might not be a starter, but they're ready at any point in time. You look at guys like Evan Richley, you look at Anders Peterson, Jarrett Cooper, Sam Lutz. I mean, there's tons of them, right? Kevin, being the versatile player that he is. So when you go into these game plans, you're going to game plan every single week. Each week is its own entity. It doesn't matter if you won last week or if you're playing a team that's currently doing well or currently doing poorly. You have to maintain that kind of standard in your offense, it's standard in your defense, standard in your room, right? Special teams, everything. And so when we go into these game plan meetings, and that's the first thing we talk about is it's players, not plays. Like the plays on the whiteboard look great. And that's every coach in America can draw up a play and it looks good. But it's what players are in that position to actually make that block, to make that tackle, to make that catch, to make that throw, that run. And so for us to move guys around, it's a tribute to the guys understanding the offensive scheme and system, because you can plug and play as you go versus if it's, I only know how to play this one piece of the offense. Well, you might not ever get in if the guy in front of you never goes down. So you like Kevin, for example, he knows how to play every single position in the offense. You look at Mac, you look at Evan, you look at Micah, you look at DJ. They can move around, and that makes you so much harder to defend because there aren't tendencies. It's not every single time he lines up here, that's the play. You can move them around a little bit and do that. So it's a really, really fun puzzle piece to work for. I would also give a huge shout out to our scout teams, JV teams, those guys those games truly matter, and our coaches care about it and the players care about it. And our JV team had 5 straight games this year where we didn't give up a point and we scored at least 40. They won 40-0 or more for 5 straight games. They scored almost 40 points a game. They gave up like 5 points a game defensively. They cared about it. And granted, that's because they have enough players that are good players to do it and make those plays. But they didn't just say, oh, since I'm not varsity, I'm not, I don't matter. That's not the case. And you're seeing it all the time. If a guy has to come out for a play, if a guy's out for a game or whatever, like the standard is the standard. We still expect to do really good things. You're just going to be the guy that's doing it. So that's what I think is really, really fun about kind of these groups that we have together.
Do you have a player, more like specifically, that you would say right now might just be one of those guys that's kind of flying under the radar that next year you would say, hey, fans, look out for this kid because he's going to be the next Howie Johnson or anything like that? Do you got anybody in particular, or is it just a whole group of underclassmen?
I mean, we have tons of them, and that's the fun part, right? It's not just one. And we try to tell all these kids, like let's take Asher Wilson, for example, just because you had mentioned him already. Asher, you do not have to be Howie Johnson. Right. You got to be Asher Wilson. Yep. You're going to learn things from Howie this year. You're going to grow like crazy. I mean, Asher, anybody would tell you, and Asher would tell you too, from his first practice as a freshman to where he is right now at the end of his freshman year is night and day difference, because he's understanding the game more. He's making plays. He expects to make plays now. He expects to do the right thing. He's learning so much from Coach Pavic, his defensive lineman. He's obviously learning from that great room, right, with Howie and Nate and all those guys who have played. He's somebody that we expect to make plays next year. There's 30 kids on that JV team that probably could play varsity right now, which is awesome, that we're expecting to have a really good offseason, be in the weight room, do those things, and then jump in. Fun part about this group is like we think we are a good football team and have a lot of success. We start 11 juniors and 11 seniors. So 11 of those guys are back next year. Those 11 spots that are going to get filled are guys that are good football players that you've seen a little bit here and there, right? You've seen the Jarrett Coopers, you've seen the Evan Richleys, you've seen the Anders Petersons. You've seen those guys that are there and can make plays, Sam Lutz, Max Johnson, and then you're bringing back the Max and the Mac Djokovic and the Micahs and Derek Loomis and DeFore and Brooksy. Like you're bringing back a lot of these guys too, and now the guys that are in their grade get to play with them. And then you just talk about some of the guys that are like lower level guys, right? The sophomores that are playing really, really well, like Landon Brodeur is a really good player. Danny McCardle is a great player. And I'm only shouting out a couple of them. There's so many. Right. And that freshman team they went 6-1-1 on the 9A team, and the 9B team went 8-0. So they went 14-1-1 with that group. If you just put these groups together, all of a sudden it's like, holy cow, you got tons of guys like that freshman group, like DeFour's little brother. We call him De3. His name is Aze, but he's a great football player. Their running back, Abe Anderson, is a great player. They got a defensive lineman, Henrik McKenzie, that we think really high of. There's a ton of them, and I know I'm only saying a couple names, like that's your question, but I could talk all day about these guys. And, the fun part is they get to build up learning under what we're at right now, the current team, but eventually it's going to be their show. And when it's their show, I think they'll be ready.
Yeah, I got a little bet with little Djokovic, his little brother. He apparently, when I coached him in, I believe it was 6th grade. No, 8th grade. One of the grades. A couple years ago.
Yeah.
He said he was going to take Mac's spot. He was going to take Mac's spot his senior year.
Hey, I like the confidence in it, right? That brotherly love.
Cap's got a ton of confidence.
For sure. He's a good football player too. So to take over his brothers would be fun.
I'm a big trenches guy, and we can't glaze over all of everything without going into the trenches. And the offensive line did change a lot from last year to this year. And there's a lot of new names out there, and they've done an amazing job. And there's a big thing, like early on, they weren't really, you could almost see that it was like they were tying reps. Like this is just a tie, but we had the playmakers that were good enough. And now they're really putting it on them. And, you see guys getting to the next level, taking out backers. Durago will run up the middle. Durago will run up the middle, and there will be 2 guys down there blocking 10 yards down the line in the middle of the field, which is really hard to do for an offensive lineman just to get down there. And I just wanted to kind of maybe you can glaze over on how much better this offensive line, because it looks like, to me, it looks like you're calling plays and you're calling more traps, that you're allowing your offensive linemen to really get out into the space and maybe do a little pulls, a little traps, a little counter here, and then also get to the next level.
Yep. I love talking about the O-line. I love talking about, like you said, the trenches, the defensive line, because it doesn't go without them. Like, it really doesn't. You're capped. You can only be so good if your offensive line isn't really, really good. And those guys know that. They're coached really, really well by Brandon Westberg, our offensive line coach, who was a starting center at NDSU for 4 years. He's an absolute stud. The work that those guys put in the off season let's just call a spade. We have a big offensive line now, which is good, and you need it in high school football, but they can also move. It's not just big kids that lean on you and don't move their feet. Like, they know exactly what they have to do across the board. You look at guys like Jack Chilgren, who started every game last year as a junior, and he's added 20 pounds, and he's strong, and he's weight room and all of that. You look at Kanice, who played as a sophomore last year, and is now an absolute dominant force in 6A football. You look at Xavier Lopez, big guy who played here when he was growing up, was away for a year or 2, and then he moved back, and now he's a stud for us. Look at Tristan Bodine, who's the smallest of them all, but he is the fieriest.
Well, and I mean, he at center, he does an amazing job just firing off the ball. And, I haven't seen too many terrible snaps. For sure. And just it's a very hard position. And I played 100%. A little bit of center, and it's a very hard position, especially when you have, they've had some, D1 players that, D1 commits on the defensive line that they've faced. And I mean, they've still held their own. Also, Speckle on the left tackle, that guy's been a spark plug since then. He's just out there, cheering on the team, pumping up everybody. And right away, I was like, oh, who took over Valras' spot? And he comes out, and he's just pumping everybody up right away. So I'm really happy with the direction this offensive line has gone, and it's gone from we're just starting to gel, and you're trying to figure out, hey, how many steps do I need? Or like, how much space do I need to get through this little spot? And I can make it there. I can get there. I just have to, I know I have to like cheat a little bit, to get to that spot in time. But I just think that as this season goes on, a lot of your rooms, such as the linebacker room has probably made the biggest hurdle of everybody, because we really didn't know what we had coming in. We didn't know who a lot of these guys were.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, boom, like suddenly our linebacker room is one of the strengths to this team.
Yep.
And it took a couple of weeks for them to get their mojo going. But man, did they ever.
Yep.
So
yeah, 100%. And a lot of them are juniors. A lot of them are young. So to be able to take the senior group that has really, really good players that have gotten some of the experience in the past years and add those juniors in, it just gets you excited for the future. And they're all such hard workers. That's what I love about them so much. They're going to be in the weight room. They're going to be in the film room. They're going to know exactly what they have to do on the field, and they push each other. And when you're able to do that, that's when you're able to have successful teams for sure.
I got a couple of questions just going on the next couple weeks, and then we can wrap it up. But there's been a lot of talk about this season from some outside sources about like the biggest question they had about Forest Lake this year is, can we get past round 2?
Yep.
What is it about this team in particular that you think this is the team that's going to get us past that round?
Yep. Yeah, it's a great question. And the thing about this team and opposed to other teams, like obviously every year we thought we were going to win that game. Mm-hmm. And you go into it thinking, okay, we're going to win this game and get to the state tournament and do those things. And obviously we just came up short. And I would argue if you go back and watch them and think about them or remember them, like we hurt ourselves in every single one of those games with turnovers, with just dumb penalties or mistakes, and they get out of your control. And if you look at that, games like that got out of our control, and then you're trying to fight your way back and you just don't have time, or you don't, it doesn't happen. This year's team is so much about control and so much about being in control and doing what we have to do, that's why they can get over that hurdle, is they can control the football. They can control the field position. They can control the hitting yardage. We can do all of that. And that's what we're going to have to do. Now, it's not going to just happen. You play great, great football teams. When you get to this level of the season, there's only 16 teams left. You're playing the best schools in the state of Minnesota every single year when you get to this point. So if you want to prove yourself to be one of those best, which we feel like we are, you're going to have to go beat somebody that's really, really good. And they are not going to beat themselves. You're not going to play a team that's going to turn it over a bunch or, muff punts or get penalties or do those things. You got to go take it from them. And this group's weathered the storm. They've had the experience. They've had the highs where they're blowing people out. They've had the close games and they lost one. And so they know what it's going to take to get there. Now we still have to go out and do it. But I think the experience and the togetherness of what they have to do to be able to control the football game and play it our way is going to work in good day.
So you just kind of hit on something there. The Mounds View game is exactly what you were just talking about. Mm-hmm. The mental mistakes, coming out, and we had the punt block right away for a touchdown that basically threw everybody off.
Yep.
And do you think that game specifically has helped you prepare for this week's game and the games going forward in the playoffs? Because let's face it, in high school football, there are not many teams that are just like, hey, we don't even have to play the game because, people get in that mindset that they can look past a team. Well, you really can't. And, especially we've had issues with Mounds View in the past. Like every time we go there, something seems to happen. But I think all of these guys have seen enough of that maybe that will help them in this spot. Like, hey, if something goes awry right away, we got to pick it up. We got to swap something and dig deep, because this could happen. Mm-hmm. And so I just wanted your thoughts on the Mounds View game versus what you just spoke about.
Yeah, well, they all add up. Every game, I think we've learned something in every single game. You learned versus Prior Lake what you had to do to close out a tight, close game. You learned versus Anoka what you had to do that. You learned how to blow people out. And you learned obviously how what happens when you do lose. And so you look at the Mounds View game in particular. Like we still had our opportunities throughout the entire thing. Like yes, it started with, and people even forget about this piece. It started with we dropped a touchdown the first play of the game, and then we get a punt block 2 plays later for a touchdown. Yes, we're reeling a little bit and you're behind, and that was actually the first time we had trailed the whole season. Right. And so then you're thinking about that. Well, we still took the lead. We still got a touchdown. We still got a defensive stop. We kicked a field goal. We got the lead back. And so when you're trying to grab these things, that's where it was, okay, that's where you lean into complementary football and you lean into, okay, the offense just took the lead, but it was because the defense put us in a good situation. The offense can't turn the ball over to put the defense in a bad situation to now, we're giving up plays that we usually don't give up and those kind of things. So the thing you learn the most from that one is how much it takes you playing a well-rounded, consistent football game together, like we have in the past. So we beat Mounds View 2 years in a row, and then we've lost to them 2 years in a row. We had lost to Stillwater 2 years in a row. Now we've beat them 2 years in a row. What do you have to do to get past that? And that's the same thing for this upcoming game. We're not going to let those types of things happen without them being in our control and keeping things under wraps for sure.
On to this week for Joel and I, but also the fans. What would you say are just some key points that we should focus on? Mm-hmm. Big things that we need to do this week to get the win against Edina.
Yep. Yeah, we got to control football, period. It has to be in our possession, not theirs. Obviously, there's so many stars in this game on both sides. We've talked about ours. We know the guys that we have. They have really, really good football players, too. They're a very, very well-coached football team over there, too. They've got great scheme. They've got great athletes. They're tough. They're physical. They've got a defensive lineman that plays left tackle as well. It's committed to Iowa. They've obviously got the big quarterback NHL draft.
A professional athlete this week.
For sure. He's great, and he's a great player. They've got great skill on the perimeter, and then they've got some of their role players that do a really, really good job, too, that aren't going to touch the ball a million times, but they're going to do their job and those kind of things, too. So if you're looking at, what we have to look at, you have to be able to run the ball, which we've proven that we've been able to throughout the years. That's the main focus, is run the ball and be consistent. Then you have to hit explosive plays. You're trying to maintain the football and get your 3 yards at a time, but you also have to be able to hit those 40, 50, 60-yard touchdown plays, because that's what can flip a game on its head. You have to make sure that you're worrying about field position. Like, sometimes it's really fun to go for it on 4th down from your own 30, but in this one, that's probably not a good idea, because you're giving potential to give the other team those kind of things. Sometimes a punt that rolls down to the 1 is what flips the game on its head, those kind of things. So we got to be able to make sure, obviously, that we can run the football and do what we do offensively. But on defense, everybody talks about Edina's offense and the way that they throw the ball. Well, they have a 1,500-yard back. Like, the running back ran for over 1,000 yards this year. He's getting the ball 30 to 40 times a game now. They have a good offensive line. Like, you got to go try to stop the run too, and then obviously the pass stuff and all that comes with it. So I think both teams are going to try to establish the way that we both want to play the game. It's whatever team can obviously make their hay a little bit doing what they want to do that'll obviously come out on top.
Edina is one of those teams that so if you look at the different, basically the divisions that we've had, and we had Stillwater, Mounds View, and a lot of other teams. Edina's played some solid teams, and that side of the metro has they've beat each other up, and they iron sharpens iron, and there has been a few of those games that we've kind of had blowouts, which, have allowed, new guys to come in, see what we have, and basically diversify our roster. Well, they've had a lot of the trials and tribulations of those tough games. And I just want to kind of ask is, what would you prefer as far as like being a coach? Do you want to have really tough games all the time, or do you want to, have the wide gamut?
You want to be able to play your game against whoever you play. Obviously to have really tight, really good games makes you battle tested. But you also should be able to play your style of football and hopefully get some of those, blowout type games. So to answer your question, both, like I would be fine to do both of them. Right. It doesn't really matter, in my opinion, who you play. Nobody should make any mistake about it. The West football is really, really, really good football. Mm-hmm. There's a reason that they are, because they're committed to it. They have resources. They do the things. 6A football in general is really, really good football. Those schools out west are the biggest schools, so they have the most kids. So those kind of things too. So they're going to go play each other. That's who they should be playing, and that kind of thing too. So it's like anything. I think everybody's about kind of proving themselves and showing that, whoever you played last week, the week before, those kind of things, they don't matter. When you put your hand in the ground and you go against the person that's right in front of you, you're tested and you're ready to go prove yourself. And that's what we're ready to do on Friday night. And I'm sure Edina is too. They're saying they've had a really, really good schedule. They've gotten through it and they've played really, really good football games. And we would say the exact same thing. And it's going to be a fun little battle.
Yeah, I think the East on a normal year is just as hard as the West. I feel like it's two completely different schemes in football. The West, I think, is a lot more like air raid type offense. They run the ball a lot out there, but you usually have some pretty good quarterbacks as far as like passing yards and all that stuff goes. And then our side, Stillwater throws the ball, but they've always run the ball. We've always run the ball. Mounds View runs the ball well. I think it's just two different styles of football, and we've always had tough games, and I think normally it would be a tough schedule. Granted, there
were some teams that were hit by injury.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we were the lucky recipient of that, unfortunately, but fortunately for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're just as battle tested
and ready to go. Yeah. You play who's on your schedule.
Exactly.
Right. And so you go do that, and then when we get to this point, you're excited and ready to go. You're hoping you're playing your best football by this point in time, which we feel like we are, and excited to go.
Well, I can tell you one thing. I'm getting up there in age, and the heart attack, the cardiac arrest Rangers from the last couple of years. We're taking years off of my life, and I did enjoy some of the blowouts
for sure.
It was a fun game, and I'm just really looking forward to seeing quite a few more games yet this year.
Yep. That's always the goal. Just keep winning so you can be with these guys longer, and it's so fun. It's such a fun group that you want to make sure you keep doing everything you can for them.
Well, my last prompt isn't much of a question, but I feel like you don't necessarily have the ability throughout the season necessarily to talk and say anything to the fans necessarily.
Yes, for sure.
And we've been getting a bigger and bigger audience for this, so I just wanted to give you a minute or two to address the Forest Lake faithful.
For sure.
And just what they've meant to the program this year.
It means everything. Like, you think about when you go out to these games and they're packed full and it's loud and the atmosphere's out there with the lights and the music, all of that. So we just appreciate it more than anything. Like, we know that our kids are going to work. That's just what they're about. Right. So for them to see the fans that are doing the same thing by showing up, spending their hard-earned money, their time to come support us, it just makes it really, really fun. And it makes high school football what it should be about. Right. And it's about community, and it's about atmosphere, and it's making it, at the end of the day, high school football is about having the best experience you can have. Well, that comes from having fans that support you and are about you and those kind of things. So we're incredibly appreciative. Obviously, we work hard to get these home games so that way we can get more fans out there because it is at home. So we hope and expect another really, really big crowd Friday night. And then, hoping and assuming that you get through that and you get to the state tournament, we hope that fan base follows and get them to some really fun places to play.
Yeah, no, we've had packed stands for home and away games, and we, as Lakes Area TV, just keep breaking our viewership records for the streams as well. So if they're not at the game, the rest of the town seems to be watching the game. So it's been cool.
And it has been packed because we have been like, there's people walking in front of the cameras. We can't other years, like, you could be out there and we'd have, a good 10, 15 feet to ourselves. And now we're kind of crunched in and, hey, just watch what you say because you're probably going to be on the mic. So,
and it's a credit to what you guys do too, right? And the production that's able to be put on with Lakes Area TV, that people love to watch a game. If you can't make it, to be able to go on the stream and listen to you guys call it and watch what we do, that just grows the viewership, right? And then eventually they're going to want to come to the games in person. But I know I can speak for myself that, like, I get so many calls, text messages, things all the time about the good work that you guys do, how appreciative they are that they can turn it on the TV, like a high school football game, to be able to turn it on every single week, no matter where they're at. We really, really appreciate. I know our fans appreciate. I know, people that don't live in the state that I'm connected to or want to watch us, like, they are really appreciative.
In the country. We have somebody from Italy.
It's awesome. So we appreciate you guys a lot.
Well, thank you very much. We
love doing it.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and it's been a lot of fun the last couple of years. Also, like, I know that was a big moment for you, but we've also seen Howie progress, and that was a big moment for us too. Like, when we saw it, like, hey, we've seen everything of leading up to this, and that was just a great moment. And it was great that you took a time out there, and you could actually have the time, and it was in a spot where it wasn't going to hurt the team if you did that, and it was just a great moment, a great time to have it, and kudos to you and all your success. And hopefully we will be watching Howie in the maroon and gold for the Gophers for quite some time. It's going to be great. And, I would imagine that there's going to be other guys that are getting their doors knocked on and fielding some letters and phone calls, especially one we haven't really talked about. I just want a big shout out. You mentioned special teams, and there's a guy on special teams that doesn't get a lot of chances, but is probably one of the best kickers that I've ever seen coming 100%. Out of high school. Anawaga is an amazing kicker. And I just, going into these playoff games, if we're close, you always have that as an option. And I would be more than confident, in watching him go out there and being in a big pressure situation. Like that kick that he hit in Anoka was just absolutely crazy. And so just wanted to give him a shout out that he hasn't, Jaden, he kicks through the end zone, and I don't know how many field goals he's made from the kickoff, but it's been a lot.
For sure. 100% it has. Yeah, he's an unbelievable kid to come out for football and put in the work to be able to do what he do. Kicking a soccer ball is different than kicking a football. And a lot of people don't realize that. So to put the time in to know, how to do it, he's obviously incredibly physically gifted, but he's just a huge part of our team. And like you say, he leads the state in field goals and he leads the state in touchbacks. Like that's invaluable things to a football team. It's not just roll the ball out there and play. This is specific. They're going to get the ball in the 20 every single time we kick it off because he can do that. If we get inside the 50, we probably have a chance to make a field goal, which I've never, people don't have in a high school career. So we're incredibly blessed to have him. I'm excited to watch him. He'll hopefully play in college, at a high level, which I think he will. Wouldn't be surprised to see him, on Sundays.
It'd be great for Howie and him to be teammates for a couple more years, because I would love watching him at the Gophers kick field goals. That would be awesome.
Absolutely.
But no, it's just been a great job to your coaching staff on this season. A perfect season is tough to do, but it's also a crutch because the Patriots have had a perfect season and then lost the big one. So let's hope that the team learns from that one loss and they got that taste of defeat and don't want to taste it again, because bank or bust, baby. Here we go.
Agreed. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. So that was our fun little interview there with Brad. Hopefully he's back next week when we're on to whoever wins Champlin Park and the Eden Prairie game. And Edina Forest Lake. Obviously. Oh, my prediction. Yeah, we went through the bracket. Come on, man.
Come on. We went through the bracket. We know.
We're gonna shut them boys down. We'll be on to the next one.
Yeah, so a big thanks to Brad for coming in. And a big thanks to all of you that are still with us. This has been kind of a long podcast because this was kind of our first interview with Brad. All season. He kind of had clearly a lot of things to focus on through the season. So now he's getting into the groove, and hopefully we got everybody where they're supposed to be, and he came in and wanted to thank the Ranger faithful out there for being a big support and definitely traveling to a whole bunch of games and being that support. So a big thanks to Brad. Also a big thanks to you guys for watching us all season, and hopefully this continues and you will only hear us for the next couple of games.
Well, you'll
as well.
See us on the future.
You'll see us on the future podcast, but you'll only hear us on Friday nights.
Correct. Well, that's it for me. Is that it for you?
Yep, I'm Joel Geist.
I'm Noah Costa. Thank you guys for sticking with us all the way through this season. Thank you for watching all the way through on this long edition of the Ranger Football Report. And we will talk to you guys tomorrow night, Forest Lake versus Edina in round 2 of the playoffs. Have a great night.
Good night, everybody.